Can you read me the list one more time?
Yeah. Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball Z.
One Piece.
Naruto.
Naruto.
Bleach.
Hunter.
What the f*** are you smoking, Michael? Jesus. Welcome back to Dynamic Entry. It's me, the professional henchman, here with my cat. And we're here to talk to you today about the best anime to start with. And not just like, hey, let's get into trying some new things. No, I mean, if you are just entering the world of anime and manga, and you're looking to find a couple pieces to get in with and kind of get your teeth wet, I think that we can come up with a better list. So today, we're going to show you our top 3 picks as well as our top 3 avoids when you are entering the anime scene.
Man, nature is so nice. I don't know what the phrase is in Japanese, but I know there's like a phrase where you have to go outside to like reset yourself, like be one with nature. Anyway, I decided, hey, we should, have a class outdoors today, like you used to do back in elementary days. So I figured the class that we were teaching, Chris mentioned earlier, what you should watch and what you shouldn't watch when you're getting into anime. Michael B's list, it's okay. It's just there's too many long ones on there for my taste. So I think that one of the best ones you could probably start off with, and full disclosure here, if you're getting into anime, this one you should watch, but its second season is not the best. So maybe you just watch the first season. That's all you need. And I'm talking about The Promised Neverland. If anybody who gets into anime, whenever they ask me, like, hey, what should I watch? I always recommend at least the first season of Promised Neverland because it's short, it's concise, and it gets to the point of the entire story. You probably want to recommend it, or if you are getting an anime, you want to watch it. You are into like suspense thriller type shows. This is for you. If those people who are like super into like true crime, documentaries or podcasts and stuff like that, I think this would be a really good choice for you. It has a very good pace. The characters are lovable, and it's just like the perfect mixture of everything you need in an anime. It's just. That always comes back to just how concise it is. There's no like episodes that are wasted. There's no filler. So with The Promised Neverland, you don't get any of that. You get all story 100% of the time, and you get to the point, you get to the end, and by the time you finish it, you're like, dang, I really want to see more. And you probably shouldn't with this one. You should just end it right there. Don't watch season 2. Season 2 gets kind of bad. But Promised Neverland, definitely a great one to start off with.
So now, I'd like to actually recommend an anime, and to take a page out of Nate's book, I'm actually going to do one that's bigger on Netflix than it is a few of the other hosting channels. Have you heard of The Great Pretender? There's a lot of anime out there that are varied in both their placement as well as the type of characters that they have in it. Some of them take place in magical, beautiful kingdoms or otherworldly space features, but The Great Pretender actually takes place on good old planet Earth. Whether it be in Los Angeles, Japan, Italy, or in between, there are plenty of different places that stand out for us. And anybody that jumps into the series from any part of the world might find something for them or something that relates to them, which is very uncommon in anime. There's not a lot of solidarity. I don't think I'm getting the right word there, but I do like the fact that they cover so many different types of character models, different types of character arts. The music selection, it is fucking fabulous. I mean, any anime that uses Queen at the end of it is a fucking cheat code. But in all reality, The Great Pretender has a nice, concise story that I feel has just the right mix of seriousness as well as silliness to get you into anime. Some anime can be really brutal if you're going down the Berserk end, and others can be completely insane if you're going the Gintama route. Great Pretender is a nice middle road for that. Just giving you a little bit of everything you need.
All right, so we got to have some sort of like a classic show that you want to get someone into, like show you like, hey, this is where anime kind of started off at. So this is like a respect for the classics. Now, when you say classics, you can always mention, like Cowboy Bebop or like Yu Yu Hakusho. Those are like the classic ones you think of when you think of like 90s, early 2000s animation. But me, I want to go with the love of people who are into just mechs, right? Battle mechs have always been the appeal to everybody. Like, if you're a young boy, you're like, hey, I want a giant robot so I can beat some ass with, right? Because that's, I think, kind of my entrance into anime is, at one point, was Gundam. And that's where it's going to lead me to, is telling you guys about Gundam. Not just regular Gundam, because that can get a little bit politic-y for a little bit. But for those who just want to see straight hands be thrown and show, like, the animation of, like, the 90s and early 2000s pushed to the limit, I would say you should get into G Gundam. That is, like, peak Gundam for me. Now, it's not going to deal with any of the politics like I mentioned earlier. It's just going to be only them fighting, which is the best part of any, I think, mech anime. Like, whenever I'm watching anything, I'm like, okay, first and foremost, do they fight or do they just talk the whole time, right? So G Gundam is the best of that. And the characters are memorable, the special attacks, and it just feels very anime too. It's the way they, people like announce their attacks, like the Kamehameha or whatever, right? It's that type of mode where it's just like, oh, you get hype when you're watching because you're like, oh, he's doing a special attack. I know what's happening here. The stakes are high right now. And at the end of the day, what's better than the stakes of being the best in the world? That's what they're ultimately competing for. Who is the best Gundam pilot from which country? And yeah, that's just like, it gets a little bit love story at the end, I guess. So if you are into romance also, this is a good recommendation for you. But yeah, I would say for any of those little boys out there who just want to see robots fight, G Gundam, Mobile Suit Fighter G Gundam is just, it's the best that you can start off with.
This recommendation may seem a bit odd for some folks who are longtime listeners or watchers because I've never mentioned it before. However, I have a deep love and respect for Vampire Hunter D. Holy shit, guys. When you talk about old quintessential 90s anime, edgy-looking vampires, beautiful landscapes, post-apocalyptic, nuclear, what have you. I mean, Fists of the North Star and a bunch exist, sure. But what is shoujo anime or manga without handsome, gorgeous vampire male protagonists to have? Not necessarily male, but that's not the point. The point is, Vampire Hunter D hits all the marks. You like sick, hardcore, edgy action? We got it. You like dark, brooding landscapes that give weird, awkward, introspective vibes? You got that. You want to see balls to the walls craziness? Vampire Hunter D. You want to start out right. That's where you should start.
So when I think of animes that I don't usually want to recommend to people, it's probably, at first the ones that are kind of creepy and a little bit like, you're not used to seeing that type of like sexual activity type stuff on screen. So that's always a good rule of thumb. Like, hey, if it has anything like any sexual, anything with it, you probably shouldn't recommend it unless you know the person personally and how they are. If they can handle it, go for it. But as far as like, ignoring that rule, not ignoring it, but following in that rule, someone that you should not recommend to somebody, one on my list, one that you should not start off with if you are a beginner, probably Berserk. People do love it. There's so many iterations of it, so many different years that it started and ended and began again. But as far as the story goes, it's not probably the most appropriate for people who aren't ready to handle that. I mean, if you have like a Game of Thrones fan on your hand and they want to try their hand at, anime, this might be a good recommendation. But for anybody who's just like a casual watcher, I don't recommend Berserk. There's just so much going on in that story where it's like, ooh, they might cringe and be like, you know what, this is what, when they think of anime, this is what they think of. They think of little girls, but they also think of like this. And they're like, this is just too much for me at once. And it's one of those ones. And also, I mean, the pacing can sometimes be a little bit of an issue. If you don't like a slower paced anime, there are high points in this, of course. But I would say that if you want to have like an action-packed anime that's just going to be like hands only, that's going to like show them like animation at the highest point, maybe Berserk is not the right one for them. So I would say avoid Berserk if you're a beginner.
So I'm going to be honest with you. As a Hispanic man, this is not the easiest thing in the world for me to say. But I truly believe that newcomers to anime should avoid Dragon Ball Z at all costs. And that actually kind of extends as far back as Dragon Ball. Not that I necessarily think that the older anime did anything wrong. Actually, far from it. I feel like the further you go back and look at older Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, you have a bit more fluidity in the story. Everything seems to feel a little nicer and a little crunchier. But the problem is that over time and with development, it kind of just got out of hand. I mean, at first, it was supposed to be a cool, funny story about Journey to the West, roughly. And then eventually that spiraled into aliens and gods and time-hit assassins. And there's that one episode where Raleigh shows up. That was weird. Yeah. To be honest with you, Dragon Ball Z, even in its Kai form, is rather dense. And I don't necessarily think it's the best pick for a newcomer. Mostly because it's dated. The pacing isn't all that fantastic. And I think that there are stronger picks for an entry-level anime.
All right, so finally, one last one that I do not recommend for beginners to start. Okay, and this is a fantastic show. Probably my current favorite, and a lot of people's favorite. It's going to be Attack on Titan. Okay? If you're a beginner, don't let anybody tell you that you should start this show. If this is the first show you're watching out of the gate, you should not. Your friend who told you to watch this, they need help. You should go see a therapist with them, maybe, because if you took the recommendation to heart. It is a show that is just depressing. There's nothing happy going on at all in the show. I mean, if you are that type of person who just wants to like feel sad, then yes, you could watch it. But I feel like any casual fan who's just getting into anime, they should not start with this. First of all, it's sad. Secondly, it is kind of long at this point. They keep dragging out the end. There's like a final part 2 remix coming 12 days from Christmas from now. And then there's a movie coming. It's just so much happening. But yeah, length of it is a problem. The material is a problem. It's just a problem altogether. For a beginner, advanced watchers, yes, we love it. We appreciate everything that it's doing for anime as a whole. But for a beginner, you should not. This is not for you. If you're well behind the ears still, don't pick this up. Don't let this be your first one. Because even then, it's just so good that anything you watch after that, you might feel disappointed. And you're like, why can't I find anything as good as this? You know, you compare every piece of pizza you have to your first slice. If this is going to be your first slice, I don't think that you're going to enjoy anime after this. So, yeah.
Now, I think I'm going to stay on the Netflix route here because kind of on my mind. And also, I've been playing Monster Hunter Generations. That'll make sense in a second. Can I tell you guys about Baki the Grappler? I adore this manga. As far as a like written and illustrated manga goes, I find it very fascinating. It is odd. It is weird. It hits strange story beats and fights that you don't expect to work. Obama's in it. That's fun. Same with Trump, Hillary Clinton, and all. And that's kind of where we're getting to. You see, the ridiculousness in Baki is almost on par with some of the other anime out there, but there are other things said in Baki, like casual assault being thrown around and such, that just makes it not so palatable. Moreover, the manga does have a lot of these things that aren't actually adapted over to the anime, but conversely, being that it is a show that involves and surrounds sometimes real-life fighters or historical figures in history, though exaggerated, it makes it a little odd when they have to do licensing changes and other overseas changes, and it kind of just takes away from the whole thing. Even now, as we're preparing to go back into Baki for the Pickle arc, I'm not sure how much sense a caveman saved in a slab of salt rock. I can't even begin to explain the Pickle arc. It's just fucking insane. I love Baki. Again, great manga. I'm still reading it. I don't recommend The Son of Ogre for everybody.
All right, so that is our list. Michael B. Jordan, I think he had a pretty okay list. It's just, like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of long ones on there. So I think that, yeah, very high school too. So I feel like if you watch this video, you can find something that you will like and genuinely can help you avoid some landmines as well. And hopefully you guys did get some gems out of this whole thing. We just kind of wanted to be, you know, the teachers for today to let you know, hey, what you should do in this world of anime. And you know, at the end of all of it, as long as you are watching any form of anime, I think is important. You know, we all enjoy the form, the medium as a whole. We do enjoy that here. So we're glad that, if anything, you do just start a show in general. Whether or not you believe us or not, you're still going to watch it. And that's all that matters, as long as you're watching. So thank you guys for watching. Voice crack. Thank you guys for watching. Go ahead and subscribe down below. Follow us down below. All that fun stuff is there. And until next time, go watch some more anime.